This video is going to be a film study look at how the Ravens defense was able to dominate, limit, shut down, whatever phrase or descriptive word you want to use, apply it. The Texans offense, Texans offense that had averaged over 8 yards per play against the Browns the previous week at home. Granted, the Ravens made them look one-dimensional, or even less than that. Texans fans listening, please don't take disrespect to it. I think the team's got a great future. Ran into a real deep defensive roster. And that's the thing I want to try to illustrate in this video is how many guys were making plays for the Ravens at all three levels of the defense. Texans were able to get down there and get a field goal offensively one time, cross midfield, I think 2 other times, including one missed field goal, returned a punt for a touchdown. Otherwise, this is twice in 2023 when the Texans have been held without a touchdown at all. And I think both teams to do it was the Baltimore Ravens. Perhaps there was a third, but 2 games kept the Texans out of the end zone both times. That's 8 quarters of information and data that we have. I think Tank Dell missing was a big loss for them. We're missing Marlon Humphrey. We're missing Mark Andrews. And in my opinion, it wouldn't have mattered if everyone's healthy or not. The Ravens can plug in guys and play extremely well. They'll have their hands full next week with the Chiefs, no doubt about it. It'll be an extreme challenge dealing with coaching staff and players who have played and made deep playoff runs and won multiple Super Bowls. Let's get to the film. Here we'll pick selected plays from each possession. This is first possession. Going to be a speed out to the right-hand side of the field. The Texans are very right-hand dominant in terms of their pass game, and you'll kind of see some evidence of that here. And Darby, I thought, was a target early. Dalton Schultz beat him twice. He's definitely a guy who comes down and makes plays against the run. He's aggressive. Kyle Hamilton being very physical with the slot receiver here, and Darby is already driving on the ball. Look, it's not even out of Stroud's hands. Perhaps this week look for a double move or something against Darby. If he plays very physical right there, perhaps contact on Nico Collins' back before the ball gets there, but great timing to swat the ball away. This is actually a 2nd and 10. My apologies. Rarely going to be called when you get your hands on the football in such a clean fashion like that. Very next play, Stroud's going to scramble up the middle. And this happened twice during the game where Queen is trying to pick blitz for someone, and there's no complimentary stunt from the ups. It's the side where he's picking to, looping around. I'm not sure what happened, but that's happened 2 times. But in any case, look, it ends up being a 3 deep, 3 under, where you would have 3 deep, 3 under with Hamilton, Smith, and then I think that's Stone dropping down. Stone ends up involved in the tackle on Stroud, who is clearly trying to get the first down. You're not looking at a typical quarterback slide. It's a 5-man rush. Van Noy, in my opinion, is a hard-coded outside rush here, designed to force Stroud to step up in the pocket into the stunt that, for whatever reason, was not run from the side where Queen blitzed to. I feel like Darby played better than the targets are going to be illustrated. He's definitely a guy who occasionally looks a little awkward compared to other NFL corners, certainly not compared to people like me or you listening, but his movements look a little ragged at times, but he's generally in the right place. I think this is a supremely good pickup for the Ravens. Darby's had a great year, and even the targets, the times when he does give up yards, other than the one big one to Schultz, don't end up hurting us that bad. So we're moving forward, second possession. There's 2 false starts on this drive. The Ravens fans clearly had an impact. This is a 2nd and 11. Screen to Nico Collins to the right. The fit by Kyle Hamilton here. Look, Nico Collins is a load. He's a huge receiver. Kyle Hamilton matches that. And this is a bubble screen to Trips, again to their right, to Nico Collins. And this is Kyle Hamilton from depth. Fitting on this because Millette forces it inside. All momentum, forward progress gone for Nico Collins. There's other guys involved there. Our speed is what I think opposing teams' offenses and coaches probably talk about at some point. Maybe not to each other, to their players. But when they're being real about the difficulty of dealing with this Ravens offense, I think that's one of the elements that you can watch on film and you can say, wow, they're fast, but you don't really get a sense of it until you get on the field with us. Texans actually reached Ravens territory close, got down here to the 37, 32, excuse me. Intentional grounding here on Stroud. Nickel blitz off the edge by Millette, and we're not dropping the D tackles on this. So this is not the glitch blitz that you'll see near the end of this video and that I've covered in video format twice. Glitch blitz would normally be nickel defender off the edge and the 2 D tackles, Matabike and Pierce or whoever, dropping out of there. That's not what you get here. This time it's Clowney dropping out from the opposite side of the nickel. It's basically a domino effect. 4-man rush. We're dropping Clowney out of there onto the hook to curl area, Queen into the flats. Ball was thrown out quickly by Stroud because he recognized there's a free rusher. Nobody in the area, intentional grounding. Very fortunate for us that ended up being an intentional grounding. Creates this 3rd and 21 from near midfield. And a deep pass to Nico Collins. Again, you see Darby is a guy who looks a little big, wide for an NFL corner, but he's much more agile than perhaps he might look at times with his turns. Maybe he doesn't look as smooth with his feet as other guys, but he gets the job done, man. I think this guy can play for us 60 minutes against the Chiefs and whoever we face in the Super Bowl and get the job done. Hopefully Marlon Humphrey comes back. This is clearly an attempt by the Texans to go to his side. I don't remember more than 2 targets to Brandon Stevens, and one of them was on a crossing route like this where Stevens ran all the way across the field with Nico Collins, and the ball ended up being incomplete. I'll actually show you that one here. Clowney was definitely trying to win off of speed rushes. Thought he got held once, and it wasn't called. The violent finish of Matabike is what's notable here. Trying to swat and get to the inside doesn't work. Redirects to the outside. And then finishes off Stroud on the throw. Ball ends up being out of bounds. And we force a punt after they were down to our 32-yard line. 3rd possession, they're back here again. And this is late first quarter, excuse me. And it's almost an interception here. Tipped pass by Travis Jones. I thought the announcers covered it well, that this is set up nicely. Credit to the Texans. They were doing a lot of things where there was split flow and something coming back to the other side. In this case, it's a double fake screen. One to the left, another one coming back over here to the running back, and then Jordan, the tight end, very athletic, had the 76-yard catch and run against the Browns last week. Middle of the field. Kyle Hamilton's going to make this tackle, but Travis Jones, this is just how active. There's so many guys whose names should be mentioned. Hopefully I don't forget any of them here and the things that they did on individual plays. Travis Jones is right here. Thought he played extremely well against the run and the pass. This one happens to be a tipped ball that deflects it, ends up being in Kyle Hamilton's hands. And this is normally a pick, and I think you're looking at a potential pick 6 on this because there's so much space for Kyle Hamilton to run onto in this area. And the only guy other than Stroud to deal with him, the only 2 guys, is offensive lineman. I think Kyle Hamilton's going to outrun them. Nearly an amazing play by us. Texans get their first field goal on this drive, by the way. That one sets up this 3rd and 13 after a false start. And it's going to be Nico Collins all the way across the field. I think Owe beats the left tackle pretty cleanly. Falls down. Looked like maybe his footing wasn't great on this day. Owe's going to match up with the left tackle here on a speed rush. Stevens comes all the way across the field to match up with Nico Collins. Ends up being incomplete, as Michael Pierce is trying to chase Stroud down or at least keep him from scrambling for more yards. Here's Collins all the way across the field. You can see Stevens has caught back up to him, right on top of him. That and maybe one other target is all I remember to Stevens. I guess if Darby plays next week against the Chiefs and Marlon Humphrey doesn't, maybe that's the first thing. Maybe we could expect to see that. That possession did have Darby get beat once by the tight end and also a 3rd and 10 completion to Collins. In any case, that was the Texans' first points, and we got a touchdown on our very next possession, go up 10-3. Moving forward here now, 2nd quarter. 4th possession for the Texans, 1st and 10. This is going to be another one of those split flow or misdirection type things. You got 2 consecutive fake reverses in a row by the Texans. This one to Nico Collins, who's their biggest and strongest and most impressive athlete on the offensive side of the ball. Singletary keeps it around the edge. I'm not sure if Van Noy's, being held, or the guy just doesn't stay on him, and Van Noy doesn't get his body low enough in position to make the tackle with contact. But in any case, it ends up being a nice play by them, stretching us horizontally to one way, and then a 7-yard gain by Singletary to the other. 2nd and 3, Stroud. The only passes that I recall to their left, our defense's right, was stuff like this. Again, a fake reverse screen to Singletary back to the other side. Marcus Williams is there, and so is Broderick Washington, which again tells you about our speed. You're talking about a defensive tackle getting involved in the play that's a screen into the boundary, away from a fake reverse. Oftentimes you'd see guys over pursue. In this case, Washington's able to peel back. Patrick Queen is there, limit him to a 2-yard gain. And for whatever reason, the Texans chose to go hurry up. Man, this is a beautiful play by Kyle Van Noy. Great timing by him and Queen in terms of when the ball is snapped, and they moved late. It looks like the tackle tries to communicate something to the left guard as soon as Van Noy and Queen shift. And Van Noy stunts inside, gets just enough of a piece of Singletary to hold him to no gain and force another punt. Again, that's 4th possession in the early mid-second quarter. We got stopped, our offense got stopped, and then, of course, the Texans returned the punt for a touchdown. So moving forward now, we're 5th possession, late in the quarter. They've reached our 31-yard line after a completion to Collins, a 29-yarder, by the way. It was on a 3rd and 13. I think with about a minute and 20 left, something like that. So this is a 1st and 10 from our 31-yard line. You can see that it's 11 personnel. You got the tight end into the boundary. 1-back power play. Watch the violence of Clowney. Just complete dedication and just wanting to sow chaos in whatever shows up in his way. So he takes the tight end with him and the pulling lineman. Consequently, Queen and Stevens are able to track it down in a lot of open space. Only ends up being a 2-yard gain. It's not just speed sometimes. Sometimes it's defeating the scheme. And in this case, Clowney defeated the scheme, the 1-back power play. Took out 2 blockers, freed up Queen and Stevens, creates a 2nd and 8. After an incompletion, 3rd and 8, and this is going to be a brilliant play, I think, by Kyle Hamilton, up to the field side against Robert Woods, again to the right. Now, kind of a little bit of a shifting to the right by Stroud naturally, but I suspect that a lot of this stuff was targeted to Darby's side. But even if you look at the Browns film last week, C.J. Stroud, most of his throws were moving to the right. I know that the next gen hit stats or whatever had a lot of completions over here as well, and slightly more to this side. Watching the game, at least early, let's do it that way. First quarter, 2 quarters, maybe 2.5 quarters, it looked like part of their strategy was to get the ball out to the right. So this is a little out from the slot to Woods, and Kyle Hamilton is right there. There's really not much that Stroud has here to try to convert the first down at least. Even if he throws a better ball, Kyle Hamilton's right there. We're just suffocating. No sacks, no interceptions. No fumbles, no interceptions, no sacks. But we're still able to keep them out of the end zone. I think it's a pretty unique performance by our defense. The Texans had one more possession in the first half, took a knee to end the second quarter. So go into the half, 10-all, and I know all of us were maybe not nervous or scared, but apprehensive, hoping that we would come out and dominate, and we certainly did. This is 7th possession, 3rd and 6. And this is a completion to Schultz against Darby down at the bottom side of the screen. I do like how we match this up, other than this particular loss that Darby takes against Schultz, who I think he gave up 2 or 3 catches to Schultz, who's a talented guy. Definitely a pick rub that occurs up here beyond the 1-yard marker, but those things seem to be inconsistently called, if you ask me. I would say there's a definite pick right here occurring past that yard to gain, but we just take over this route with the inside linebacker, and then Hamilton takes over this other route. So we're matching up here. Stroud again moving to his right, takes a nice shot from Matabike, one of his, I think, 7 quarterback pressures, and I believe it was 4 quarterback hits. They also converted a 2nd and 7 on this drive. It was a 15 or 16-yard run by Singletary. Again, reached our 39. We're talking third quarter, 8 minutes left. And this one's going to be the designed flea flicker screen where Geno Stone makes a fantastic play on it. Ronald Darby's looking for the football because he saw his man go away. Stone is the guy who reacts initially. Doesn't get credit for the tackle, but he makes the play because he allows Roquan, with all his speed, to get over here and finish it off for a 5-yard loss. Why are the Texans doing all this stuff? Well, the direct flow run concept was not working. So they had to do something that was outside of just drop back and pass. They had to offer some left-handed attack along with all their right-handed stuff. When I say right-handed, I mean their strong hand. I think their passing game is their strength. Regardless of who their running back was this year, that's what it seemed like to me. So a handoff to Hutchinson, and then the flea flicker back to Stroud, gets rid of it quick. Beautiful stuff by Geno Stone, and then you'll see how far Roquan Smith had to come from, and that was really made possible by Geno Stone getting first contact. Here is Roquan. Here is Stone. Roquan's kind of redirecting because he sees that the ball's flipped back to the quarterback. As the ball is caught, you can see there's a lot of space here. Stone has already defeated the scheme of the play, got in on Hutchinson, and then Roquan finishes him off. Like I said, loss of 5 on the play. Beautiful moment. Got to give credit to the Titans for at least trying these things and trying to be a little bit tricky with some of their play calls. So that's a 2nd and 15. This is a awesome timing on this challenge by Marcus Williams. And this is a little different for Marcus Williams than what we have seen, I think, for parts of 2023. Maybe it's a different coverage call, but I've seen times where these little in-breaking routes are open, very similar to the Detroit Lions, like one of their favorite third down concepts that I've seen a lot of this year. It's a great challenge by Marcus Williams, stepping down, being willing to step down and allow the receiver who, as soon as the receiver makes his break, he's in on it. And Stroud's throw is such that it's in a position where Marcus Williams is able to get a pass deflected. Also has to throw it over the top of a defensive tackle who's challenging the play. That's the thing with us, is that there's not just challenges at the point of attack where the run is or where, in this case, the ball was thrown. There's challenges all across the board that make it incredibly difficult to execute things up and down the field. Now we're looking at a 3rd and 15, and I think this is Queen and Darby on the tackle in the right flats. C.J. Stroud's got a great release. He reads things extremely well. On this 3rd and 15, he's got nothing and checks it down to Schultz quickly. Ends up being a 1-yard gain out into the right flats, again forcing another punt. At this point, we're up 17-10 in the 3rd quarter. One thing to notice about Darby that I feel like he's a great zone defender. Recall the pass deflection he had against the Browns in Week 4 in a cover 2. I love how he contacts the receiver here and presses him in. I was halfway through doing a video talking about Darby and Ronnie Stanley before this game, and I wasn't able to get it finished for Saturday morning's content. But I love how physical he is. Against the run, when in zone. Not sure how much we'll be playing complete zone against the Chiefs this week, but that guy plays zone incredibly well. So 8th possession, last one I want to show you. We're up 24-10. At this point, huge hit by Broderick Washington on C.J. Stroud. We didn't sack him. He's got great escapability. Very agile, super smart young man on the football field. And even, listening to the guy talk. I like how physical we are. We're making contact with receivers. Now, Nico Collins is, wide open, obviously, coming across the field left to right. Stevens trying to make a little bit of contact, similar to Darby on the last one. I think you've got a quarter half here. It looks like to me. Darby is running with one vertical, and then Collins is wide open going across the field. Marcus Williams has released him. No one else has picked him up. Thankfully, we got pressure, and Stroud's unable to recognize it and get the ball out to him. End zone angle. From a Ravens perspective, this seemed like we were playing defense with 12 guys because everything was challenged, everything was contested. There was always physical contact on someone, be it a receiver, be it a guy trying to release, or in this case, C.J. Stroud taking another hit. Beautiful defensive performance absent turnovers, which I think is unusual or unique, and I think shows the depth of the roster, and that we didn't need special circumstances to keep this team out of the end zone, at least on Saturday night. Last one is a 3rd and 5. Incomplete pass to Woods out to the left, and again, you got a glitch blitz where 2 D tackles are dropping out. Millette is blitzing off the edge. Takes a bad angle, if you ask me. Once he's full speed, if you're gonna get, you got to do one of 2 things. Once you get any kind of flow away or quarterback's back to you, if you're on this blitz, you either got to throttle it down and stay to his outside shoulder, or go full speed and sell out for the sack. And then if there's anything that's occurring over here, if he escapes there, fine. He does neither. He veers inside and gives up the edge. He is, in fact, the force player, edge defender at this point, because it's a nickel blitz off the edge. He's been very good in these situations. I wish we'd been able to get a sack here. This is early 4th quarter. Like I said, it's a 14-point game at this point. We're up 24-10. You could tell just by watching the clunkiness and the difficulty with which the Texans were trying to execute things, that everything we were doing was working. In this case, we're dropping out our 2 huge athletic D tackles, and we're bringing the nickel blitz off the edge, something that we've had great success with. And the timing of Mike Macdonald calling these things is exquisite. Perhaps the guys on the field call it sometimes as well. That was a 3rd and 6. I didn't mention it. It was fun to watch from a Ravens perspective in the second half. It was no fun to watch our defense in the first half, even though they were rock solid. They were rock solid the entire game. It was no fun because our offense was struggling, because our offense was having difficulty getting things going against the Texans defense that was bringing 5- and 6-man pressures, and we weren't dealing with it. So as the game developed and it became more clear that our defense was not just superior to the Texans defense, but superior to their offense, and that everything they tried to execute was challenged and made extremely difficult. Windows were smaller and there's less time to get plays off. I thought Kyle Hamilton was in great position as a 3rd-level defender multiple times, and I feel like those guys at outside corner, Darby and Stevens, played underrated games. In the case of Darby, he clearly gave up some completions. You saw a couple of them here. And we just found out tonight that the Chiefs are going to be the team that will play Sunday afternoon at 3 o'clock. I'm not sure about you, but I'm excited. And I do think there'll be a different strategy from the Chiefs than a lot of people think in terms of their offense. They have been, in big games that I have noticed in the last year or two, more willing to run the football, primarily because of the talent level and how hard Isaiah Pacheco is to tackle at times. And I think that's a unique threat. I'm not going to compare it to the Rams necessarily, but it tends towards that matchup in some ways because of their willingness to throw the football. And I think right now off the cuff that Mahomes and the Chiefs will be more dangerous under center with run-pass plays as an option. I don't mean RPOs, but potential run play calls or potential pass plays than if they just line up in the typical shotgun and are 65 to 70% focused on throwing the ball, because to me, that's what Mike Macdonald's defense is set up to stop. Appreciate you guys' time, man. Let me know what you think of the video in the comment section. If you think other Ravens fans would enjoy this film study look at how Mike Macdonald and the defense was able to shut out or keep the Texans offense out of the end zone, then please consider grabbing a link to this video, sharing it out on social media so other Ravens fans can enjoy it as well.